Hey YouTube, it's your girl Chic from Chic Say What, and we're here to get into it. Just some more tea.
Hey YouTube,
in the
it's your girl
streets.
Chic from Chic Say What.
Hold on, let me.
And we're
my
here
volume
to
on
get
you.
into it. Just some more tea. Hey YouTube.
Okay, there we go. Turn that off. Okay, so let me know if you can hear me. Put a 1 if you're listening right now in the chat. Let me know if you can hear me. I want to make sure that my volume is on point. So if someone can just let me know, that would be awesome, because I don't want to be up here talking because I have so much information to give. I want to make sure that my sound is good. Okay. So I'm going to carry on with this. So if you guys have any problems, you're saying you can't hear me, let me know. But yes, we're going to get into it tonight. As you can see from the title, is Sonetta blamed for Brother Polight's new charges? And then another talking point, Black women and children at risk. So yes, I've been just doing a lot of research pertaining to this situation. It's normally, or at least Sonetta, I've heard of his name. He's not someone I ever really followed. Same with Brother Polight. Not, either one of those two gentlemen aren't people I particularly followed. But I have heard their names kind of thrown around in the YouTube street. So what made me want to just kind of research this situation, I seen that it was something that was heavily being talked about. And then in the same name with Brother Polight's, it was referencing of a 10-year-old girl. So I said, okay, I need to stop and actually explore this further. Even though I don't know this Brother Polight, I need to explore this further to see what's going on here, because people are starting to really get into their feelings about what's alleged to have happened. So I'm going to do quite a bit of screen sharing tonight, because like I said, I did a good amount of research because I wanted to hit the situation from many different angles. Because from my research, I've seen that you got people who are kind of like on two different sides of the fence. We have people who are on the side of the fence with, okay, an adult name or a male's name in the same sentence with a child, a minor, sexual activity being alleged, an arrest at one point being alleged, or a detainment being alleged. We going with it. We're counseling you because, listen, where they say where there's smoke, there's fire. If you were detained, if there's that DNA, we're throwing around, you're done. I want no parts of you. I don't need to hear no more of what you got to say. The fact that you were brought in, whether you turned yourself in or someone came and got you, there's a police report, like, that's all I need to hear. So you have people on that side. Then you have people on the side of, okay, well, we still need to hear this brother's side. He's saying right now, he can't really talk right now. He's retained a lawyer, he said a team, and he's been advised to not really speak on the matter. But he's saying, y'all, just trust that the truth will come out, and my name will be cleared. So if you follow me, you trust me, you've been riding with me thus far, I ask that you continue to do that. And for those who aren't, then I don't know what to tell you, but I can't speak right now. And I'm not going to speak right now because I got a whole case going on and I have a team and they're working on behalf and I can't mess that up. So I'm going to listen. I'm out, as you can see, but I can't give you guys a lot. You just got to wait and just see, how everything unfolds. So you got people who are like, yo, okay, I understand that, just from whether the little bit of knowledge I know about the legal system or the wide span of knowledge I have about the legal system, that makes sense. So they say, what, 3 sides to a story, your side, their side, the truth. I'm gonna rock with you, brother. I'm not gonna just throw you away because an allegation is out there. So you got people on that side. So when it comes to Synetter, he's at this point falling on that side. I don't know if you did it or not. If you did it, yes, you deserve to go to jail. Had a key thrown all the way away, thrown in the river. Like, you deserve to be there, period. However, I'm here and I'm gonna just sit and wait. I'm not gonna pass any judgment. I've done that before, been in a situation like that before where I did that and it came back and bit me in the face. So I said, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm gonna sit and wait and see how this thing plays out. So that's where we are today with that. So I decided to come on here to talk about that because I listened to Synetter speak. He had a live that he did, I think maybe yesterday or something, but it was like a couple of hours long. But I listened to it because what took me there is I was hearing other content creators like throw his name around where people were putting fault on him for the actions of Brother Polight. Now, like I said, I didn't know either one of these men, but it just didn't sound right that another man would be getting flack for the actions of another man. So I'm like, okay, make that, make sense to me. Why are people going so hard on Brother Synetter and wanting to put blame on him for something Brother Polight did? So I'm like, okay, I'm not understanding this. So I went to check out Synetter and I wanted to hear what he had to say. And apparently, from what I learned, Brother Polight got put on through Brother Synetter, which apparently that happens a lot within that realm of, I don't even know what category, what would you call these group of men? Are they in like the woke brother category? I don't know what they are called, but Brother Synetter said that, people have even any things that Umar Johnson have done or not done or whatever, they've blamed him for. So it seems like people who have maybe gotten their start early on through him, because apparently Brother Synetter been around for a minute now. So a good number of people have kind of come through him as far as becoming known to the world, because Brother Polight got 300,000 Instagram followers, and his numbers is still there. And from my understanding, that was his number pre all of this coming out. And going off of that number, his followers are still rocking with him. So Synetter's like, okay, how am I to get blamed for the actions or indiscretions, alleged indiscretions of somebody else? Like, I can't sit on that. Like, I have nothing to do with that. That makes no sense. So I'm listening, he's speaking like, so I don't understand. Yes, I know this man, but you can't blame me just because maybe he became initially known to the world through my platform. Like, y'all can't just put this on me. He was like, that's like, he was trying to use examples of Like that's, say you a black man and another black man go out and rob a bank. That's like, okay, a white man blaming you. Oh, he a black man just like you. So you need to take responsibility of that. So that was kind of how he's trying to say, yo, like, think about it. It doesn't make sense. I can't hold that L. I can't. So, I was on that. So, he opened it up. He said he had, I guess he did maybe a little quick interview, maybe with a 2-minute, he said had a little 2-minute little situation talk or whatever with Brother Polight. And he posted it, he had said the day before. So I'm doing today, Thursday. So I guess I'm thinking maybe this was Tuesday. And he was like, a lot of people kind of took that little 2-minute video and turned it into something else and just been going crazy with it. I haven't seen that video. So I'm not quite sure what was said in that, but he's basically saying, I'm not saying the man's guilty or innocent. I'm just saying I'm sitting on my opinion until all evidence is presented through the legal system, period. Whether you mad, you're in your feels or not, that's where I stand. So he opened up the line to like callers. People were calling in. A good portion of them were like, yo, I'm with you. That makes sense. Like, why don't people get it? We need to hear, what this man got to say, or not necessarily what Brother Polight have to say, but we got to, hear the evidence. Like, we understand that. We understand your reasoning why you're not saying anything. But then you had, some people calling in and was, trolling him or, saying bad words, telling him, just kind of trying to lump him into a category. Brother Polight as being an abuser as well, child abuser as well. So it was a combination of the two that was pretty much calling in. And he, when people would call in, if they he would let them speak, if they had, something they want to argue, a point they want to prove. But of course, if they was getting disrespectful, things like that, most of them were kind of like say something disrespectful and just drop off the call. But I got a good understanding as far as like where Sinetta and Brother Polight, as far as like kind of where things divide between two of them. So from there, it became of a question to whether or not, well, has he really been charged, things of that nature. So I did find some information. I was able to, and I'll share my screen, do some research. Someone had called into, into his show and said, hey, it is out there that it is a real charge. This is how you can go out there and find it. So I went out there, did my research, and I did find the charge on the, I'm gonna try to do a screen share with you guys so you can see, make sure you can see my screen. So trying to get to that. So as we can see, Brother Polight's full name is Michael Noeck, black male. This is his case number, file date, and these are the charges. Some people who are, who may be familiar with the legal system may understand exactly what these charges mean. I don't understand what they mean. Engage, sex. There's a number, there's a 4/14. So I don't know, 14 meaning the age of the, what do you call that? The plaintiff. But this is it. As you can see, this is from the MIAMI-DADE CLERK.com website. So if you want to go look it up yourself, it's there. Like I said, I tend to, at the end of my videos, put the information where I got things from in the description so you can, go and research it further. But that's him. I also want to share, I don't know if you all have seen, it took a minute for me to come across it, but the news clip pertaining to the situation, the charge. So let me bring that up to you because I want to show that too. So let me try to find that because I got a lot of different things up that I was trying to save because I wanted to show you guys on the live. So let me try to get to that site where I found the video. Okay, NBC Miami. So let me share my screen again because I want you guys to see the different things of what I researched and where it came from. Okay, so this is the news site. Okay, so so I'm gonna play that. Make sure the volume's up. Okay, hold on. I'm not hearing anything. Hold on, y'all. Let me get the volume right because I'm not hearing it. So I want to make sure y'all can hear it. Let me go back. Okay. Hopefully this will let us hear it. Oh, there we go.
The social media influencer, motivational speaker, is making headlines for the wrong reason. NBC6 reporter Kim Nguyen is live in Miami Beach tonight with more on the arrest of the man known as Brother Polight. Kim.
Yeah, well, Jawan, the suspect surrendered here at the Miami Beach Police Department earlier this week. Police charged him with sexual battery of a 14-year-old girl. We did speak with his lawyer earlier tonight, who says that these charges are false. This is the mugshot of 37-year-old Michael Noack Jr., also known as Brother Polight, to his more than 300,000 Instagram followers. Miami Beach police arrested Noack this week for alleged sexual battery of a 14-year-old girl in a hotel room in February. Police say the alleged victim was the daughter of a woman he was romantically linked to. Defense attorney David Terrace says his client is innocent.
Once the evidence is produced, that he is going to be exonerated. So yeah, not guilty, nothing else.
According to the police report, Noack, a motivational speaker and author who lives in LA, asked the woman if he could take her daughter to an after party at a club in Miami. The report states Noack took the teen to his hotel after seeing that the club was closed. Police say the suspect gave the teen alcohol and started dancing and touching the teen inappropriately, groping her breast, inner thighs, and buttocks. It goes on to say Noack tried to force the teen to perform oral sex on him. The teen allegedly passed out and woke up to Noack, trying to make her throw up.
These are serious allegations, but in any situation, there is always motive. There is always a lot behind the scenes that the public is not going to be able to see.
The report states that the girl's mother found her intoxicated and possibly on drugs, with severe swelling on her mouth and lips. It later states Noack told the mother not to call police because it would ruin his career. Noack was served with a DNA warrant in June and surrendered to police on Monday. Terrace says the police report is only an allegation. And Noack claims to have written more than 90 books. In an interview, he also claims to have several wives. For now, we're reporting live in Miami Beach. Kim Nguyen, NBC6 News.
Okay.
The trial against the man accused of torturing his adopted children and killing one of them, facing another setback. The community has been waiting for Jorge Barahona to face a jury for over a decade. NBC6 reporter Stieglitz shows us why justice is taking so long.
The prosecution against George Barahona accused.
Okay. Just want to stop that. So, hey, Brittany, nice of you to join us. How are you? I'm here. I just finished playing the news clip. Hopefully you caught that of the, I guess, the initial detainment of Brother Polight and the charges in regards to his I guess, alleged assault of a 14-year-old girl. So that's what we're talking about tonight. I've just been conducting a lot of research on that because I just wanted to just get as many details as I could pertaining to it, because there's a lot of opinions out there about the matter. And it's a very emotional situation, because anytime we're dealing with children, it is going to bring out, emotion in people. And people are kind of, from what I can see, people are split on how they feel pertaining to Brother Polight and the support of him. Like, some people are like, yo, forget him. He can kick rocks. They're going with, they've heard enough. He's guilty. DNA is involved. There's nothing to talk about, period. And then you got the other people on the other side saying, hey, it's still an investigation going on. Kind of give me the vibes of like R. Kelly back. Remember, for years, it was always this question on if R. Kelly was a predator or not. People in the meantime would still support him, buy his music, go to his concerts, follow his career. But then you had people who, long before his arrest, had already kind of canceled him, before the cancel culture was a thing, because they just believed that, okay, sir, you're out here doing the most with children. I can't support that. Bye. So that's kind of where we are with this in a nutshell. But I'm just showing a bunch of just things that I've used to conduct research as I prepared to do this live tonight. Brittany, I'm good, sis. How are you? I'm good. Just put in a lot of work to try to prepare for today's live. To me, it was like leading up to it, I kind of almost had like this knot in my stomach, because I started digging deeper, and it's going to, this video is probably going to be pretty long, because I started to learn. I wanted to know, who is Brother Polight? And as I was, getting to know who Brother Sinetta was, a name came up, and I started researching there. Dr. York. Is that a name any of you are familiar with? So we're going to get into that too, with Dr. York and his connection to Brother Polight, and, trying to kind of connect the dots to some things to help understand what may potentially be going on here. So thank you for joining. I caught the last 30 seconds. Wow, that's terrible. So like I said, I dropped, and I may show it again later on if more people kind of join, and I want to do a recap. But I usually, as you know, I drop the links for wherever I pull information from. I always kind of at the end of my live go back and put it in the description, so anyone who do come to the video, they can see the information that I did share. So that will be there. I'm not familiar with him. He is a YouTuber or a celebrity. Well, Sinetta, he's a YouTuber. Brother Polight, I guess I'm guessing Brother Polight may have a YouTube channel. I didn't go out looking for that. I did find his Instagram page, though. He has over 300,000 followers on his Instagram. Yeah, so, but he may have a YouTube channel there. From my research with Sinetta, Brother Polight came through him. That's how he kind of became known to many people, because Sinetta been around for a minute now. So many people know him. So from what I could see, Brother Polight kind of got his introductory probably to people on the YouTube scene through Sinetta. So as I was talking about, I listened to Sinetta. He had a live, I think maybe yesterday, but I just listened to the playback today. It was like a little over 2 hours long. And I wanted to see why, or hear his take on why people were putting blame on him for the actions of Brother Polight. So Brother Sinetta, he's like, I don't understand why people are putting blame on me. That's a whole man, just because people may have come to know him through my platform. People that come on my platform, I have no control over the things that they go out and do. So that was, how he felt about that, which, makes sense to me. We don't. That's just like, Brittany, you're coming on my platform I have no control over the things you do or don't do. It's just, okay, yes, Brittany Davis, I seen her on my lives. She's commented, like, period. So no, it doesn't make sense to look for someone to take responsibility of another person's actions just simply because of, I guess, association. You might, where they say guilt by association. So that's kind of where Sinetta is. It's like, okay, I don't appreciate y'all doing that and y'all dragging my name just because y'all came to know who Brother Polight was through me. Like, okay, and I can't control what he did. If he did do that, yes, he should be thrown to the wolves, go to jail. But right now on my platform, I'm not going to be over here bashing the brother because I haven't heard all of the evidence. We've so far only heard like what's been put out there. I guess by the news media, the information that was alleged by the victim, but Brother Polight hasn't put out there his side because he said it's still under investigation. So he's choosing to not speak, which we've heard that before. It makes sense, So he's saying, listen, I can't go into all that with you guys, but I really hope you guys just continue to rock with me and trust that my name is going to be cleared, period. So that's where we are with that. Has he done this with multiple girls? So that's the thing. In my research, I haven't come up with anything as far as anyone talking about any previous allegations against him with other girls. But here's the thing. I think this is something that another reason why people are looking at Sinetta's side eye, just from listening to that live. A man called in, apparently Sinetta and Brother Polight a few years back, not exactly sure how long, they got into it. They had a exchange of words. And I'm guessing their words were just being exchanged through, through the internet. They were internet beefing. And a gentleman called in and was like, okay, well, during you guys' beef, when you guys were, you two men were going back and forth, you referred to Brother Polight as Young York. So I'm like, what does that mean, Young York? Because when the guy kind of was said, hey, you referred to Brother Polight as Young York. Why did you say that? Can you put some context on that? Because people are out here thinking that maybe you knew some things. You knew some things about him and you sat on it. So I'm Googling, like, what is Young? I'm thinking it's like a derogatory name. Y'all listen, I ain't about that street life. Certain things I know, but a Young York, I don't know what that is. So I didn't get anything coming up with Young York. So I'm listening to Brother Sinetta talk about, why he said that. So he was like, well, we were just two men just throwing jabs and insults, at one another because we was in the heat of the moment. I didn't mean nothing by that. I was just, just saying stuff. So at this point, I'm reading the comments in the chat, like trying to get an understanding to see what people are saying and how they're feeling. So I'm here seeing all these people putting baseball cap, when somebody's capping, lying, they're putting that like the cap emoji in the chat. So I'm like, okay, so people not believing his explanation. So then I see someone types in the full name for this person, Dr. York. And let me see, what's his name? Malachi Z. York. So I then started, me being me, I started to research, okay, who this person was and their connection to Brother Polight, since Sinetta in a heat of the moment called him Young York. Y'all, Malachi Z. York was arrested on child abuse charges. Brother Polight at the time, from my research, was a strong supporter of this man. Almost looking to him kind of like a leader. So I'm like, wow. So Sinetta referred to him as Young York. That lets me know, okay, you're trying to connect him to the discretions of this man that he looks up to, who was an alleged pedophile. And well, I don't even know, we don't even have to throw a ledge on there now, because this man is doing like, I believe like 135 years for charges. So we'll get into that. So I'm like, that's why he called him Young York, because he's like, he did a low blow, like, yo, you ain't nothing but a young York, because his leader is, you know, a convicted pedophile. So I'm like, wow. So then people in the comments, now it started making sense. Like, okay, people looking at it as though, Sinetta, for you to have thrown out a comment like that, were you aware of certain indiscretions of this man, but you was sitting on it, not really putting it out there? So then I'm just like, wow, now that's a whole nother layer to this situation. So it kind of pushed my research to learn more about who this Dr. York was. Like, who is this man? So it was some more information, you know, some deep information I found out about that I want to share tonight with you all. Excuse me, Brittany. Wow, if I even suspected someone messed with kids, the last I would do is invite them to my platform. That's the thing. So I don't know. I'm assuming Sinetta and Brother Polight are good today, for the simple fact that he said he did like this little brief interview with him. I guess they kind of at one point, I don't know what was the start of their beef, but they kind of was like going back and forth with each other. But basically he was saying, yeah, when I called him a Young York, I was just saying stuff. But people like, nah, some people like, nah, for you to say that, there was something, some vibe, something. Because, you know, I guess when we think about it, it's not the norm that people go around, no matter how upset you may be with somebody, that you're going to attach their name to a pedophile. Like, you kind of not really doing that, you know, because it's very irresponsible unless there's some information that you had that had you to associate them to that type of behavior. That's my thought. And looking at the comments on Sinetta's video, that's why a lot of people was like putting caps in the chat, because they were not buying it. They were like, nah, bro, like, you put that out there. There was a reason why you threw out that you called him Young York. You ain't just, I mean, you could have said anything about the brother, but you gonna say Young York, and we all, you know, I had to research who York is and what he got taken down for. Like, that's like somebody just calling somebody a young R. Kelly. Like, you ain't connecting somebody to R. Kelly like that, who ain't rolling like that. Like, that's not something you want to do. It's almost like them fighting words, you know, for the person who like, yo, don't put that on me. So that was that. So I'm going to share some information. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see the information that I came across about Dr. Malachi Z. York. So let me share my screen. Give me a minute. I want to show you guys, because I mean, y'all, it's a lot. The rabbit hole runs deep, and I was just like, wow. Okay. So let me make sure you guys can see what I can see. Okay. So we're good. So it says 10 things to know about the rise and fall of Dr. Malachi Z. York. So this article was July 11, 2019. So this is Dr. York. It says Dwight D. York, or Malachi Z. York, has a long line of adjectives behind his name, but what he is most known for is being the creator and leader of the Black Power group United Nuwaubian Nation of Moors, or Nuwaubians. Some have referred to the group as a cult due to its religious teachings, but it was also called a Black empowerment organization. Let me know in the chat if you guys are familiar with him and his work, because I'd never heard of this man before. York began his ministry in the late 1960s. In 1967, he was preaching to the Ansaru Allah African Americans in Brooklyn, New York, in the midst of the Black Power movement. His teachings were based on Saudi Islamic themes and Judaism, Nubian Islamic Hebrews. Later, he developed a focused center around ancient Egypt, combining ideas drawn from Black nationalism, cryptozoology, and UFO religions, and popular conspiracy theory. York relocated the community to rural Putnam County, Georgia in 1990, where they built a large complex. So I live in Georgia. So, okay, it's interesting. This man, you know, he had a heavy presence here in Georgia. Like I said, never heard of him before. Despite many controversies surrounding him, York did receive various accolades. He was awarded the key to the city of New York by Mayor Ed Koch after cleaning up the slum and drug-infested Bushwick Avenue community in Brooklyn, Nubian Facts reported. He was also named one of the state's 50 most influential men by the Georgia Informer. Wow. So we're hearing about all this, you know, this history of this man. But like I said, he's now doing time for charges. We have to see what the total charges are, but he was charged for misconduct with children. So just keep all this background stuff in mind as we prepare to kind of segue and get into that as to why this man is currently locked up. So let's see. Beyond ET. I want to see on here if it talks about more of his presence, the history of York. York was born in Boston, Massachusetts. Through other sources, give his birthplace as New Jersey, New York, Baltimore, and even Takoradi, Ghana. What is known is that York claimed to raised in Massachusetts, and at the age of 7, went to Ashwa, Egypt to study Islam. My grandfather, as Sayyid Abdul Raham Mahdi, the Imam of the Ansars, lived in Sudan until 1959 AD. Upon looking into my eyes, foretold that I was the one who would possess the light. York said he returned to the U.S. in 1957 at the age of 12 and continued to study Islam. York has gone by a variety of names. In the late 1960s, York began calling himself Iman Isa. He later changed his name to Iman Isa Abdullah. So his downfall, let's get into it. York was convicted in 2004 of child molestation and violations of the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. He is currently serving a 135-year sentence in prison. There were numerous reports that York had molested numerous children of his followers. He is serving his sentence at the United States Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility, ADX, in Florence, Colorado. Many are aware of the fact that age 19, Dwight York was convicted of statutory rape. At the age of 19, he pled guilty to raping a 13-year-old girl and was given probation. However, he was imprisoned for 3 years after violating his probation for unrelated charges. So this man, his pedophile behaviors go back to the age of 19. So basically, he did time for that, got out, and still was engaging in these types of behaviors. So I wanted you guys to see who this man was, because I came across a couple of videos where one of the alleged victims who testified, he spoke on his personal experience. And I want to share the video with you all. It's like about 12 minutes, but it's very deep. And he sounded very sincere, but he's been interviewed by Brother Polight, who's kind of like giving me the vibes of he's giving this man the side eye. Because mind you, Brother Polight, he looks at Dr. York as at this time of this interview, he was looking at Dr. York as like his all, his God, his leader. Whether or not he still views him as that way, I'm not quite sure, because I haven't come across more recent interviews to see if his stance changed. But at the time of this interview, he was a strong, avid supporter of Dr. York. And to him, he kind of felt like, okay, the government, which we've seen a lot in history where the government would do whatever to take you down. But my thing is like, there's got to be something there that they can work with to try to take you down with. And given that, as we've seen, and based on the current situation of Dr. York, he wasn't living on the up and up. So because of that, okay, well, you didn't make it hard for the government to take you down, player, because you out here doing the most. You ain't living right. So it is what it is. You know, we can't just focus on, okay, these things that supposedly beneficial, positive things you are doing for the Black culture, when you over here endangering people within the Black culture. Like you can't combine them. You know, it's been an X out any positive you said you was doing, that just gets thrown out the window in my book when it comes out that you over here doing this, because at this point you're doing more harm to the community than positive. So that negativity is definitely going to supershadow you planting some trees in the hood. You know, let me just say that. So let me share. I want to share that video that I came across because it was a pretty deep video. It was an interview, and it's an interview with this young man. His name is TAARIQ NOEL. And so let me get this interview. Let me try to prepare this interview. Okay. So, all right. So let me share my screen. Hopefully I won't have any problems with sharing this interview, because y'all know normally I don't do that on here. But today I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a chance with sharing some stuff with you guys, because it was some things I wanted you guys to be able to see with me. Okay. Okay, so here it is. It's titled, Brother Polight Defends Dr. Malachi Z. York While Interviewing His Victim. This was on July 4, 2017, when this was posted. So let's get in. Let me see.
The children or the people that had to testify or that testified.
Had to testify based on what that he did do something to them.
Well, I say had to testify because some people didn't testify. So some people felt it in them that they had to do this. Like it's something that they had to do. For me, it felt like it was something that I had to do. Because one, like I told you, both my sisters went through the same thing I went through.
And
both of my older sisters.
Do you mind sharing? I don't know nothing.
Sharing what? Okay, well, both of my sisters been molested.
By who?
By Malachi York. By Pops, Barbara, you know, Esau, Mom Esau, whatever, you know. He has sex with them, and
At what ages?
At what ages? I mean, you know, if you want to get the accurate number, you can ask them.
Around what age? You know, I mean,
13, 14, 7, 8. You know, and I will only speak for myself as far as the personal thing that I've been through.
Of course, you.
And as far as if you know, and I don't want to get graphic. One, you know, okay, I'm a dude. I'm not gonna be walking around saying that I've been molested. This, and that happened. As a man, you don't want to be going around saying that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. So when in my situation or the way I grew up, I was ready to move on. I left in 2001. I was ready to just live my life, move on, whatever. You know what I'm saying? The people started doing the investigations and stuff. The FBI started doing the investigations, started trying to get statements from people. Both my sisters went ahead and gave their statements.
Yeah. I
still had nothing to do with it. No statement, no nothing. When I realized, okay, they're about to go to court. You know, and I went through the same thing that they went through. Like, I'm my mother's only son. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the man of the family. You know what I'm saying? My sisters were going to stand up for themselves, and I'm, you know what I'm saying? So I was like, okay, well, and then that's when I gave my my statement, and that's when I decided that that I was gonna go ahead and do.
So I'm gonna be pausing the video here and there because I don't want any copyright, any issues. But as I'm going through this video, I want you guys just to pay closely to the body language of the gentleman speaking with this, which is Noel. And then I want you to pay attention to Brother Polight and, how he's responding to this gentleman as he's basically given his encounter. Pay attention also to his body language. And go from there, because I found, it was quite interesting as I read the comments on it as far as how people perceived, because we can see, look at, the title, Brother Polight defends Dr. Malachi Z. York. Like, people were kind of getting the vibes that Brother Polight was kind of just side-eyeing the, this situation. So I'm going to continue on with this video.
Do it. Nobody wants to see they family go get locked away. So I really understand how hard it is for people that's deeply involved in it also. And people got to understand, I was born and raised in it too. So I understand from inside out also what it feels like not to have this person around still giving leadership. So it's not no stranger, no random person that's saying, oh, this happened. I mean, this stuff, like, I was 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? I was upstate New York after Brooklyn, upstate New York when he first, touched me or whatever, in molested, And so from 7 to 14, 7 years that I went through this, you know what I'm saying? And that's my story.
Would you say there's been over 20 children molested by Dr. York?
I would say so. I mean, I would say that it was, if I could confirm people that I could strongly confirm, it'll be about 15 or 20 people.
Obviously, if over 15 to 20 children were being molested, we have to now say, how come the adults wasn't saying nothing? Shouldn't they be locked up with Dr. York too? How come they're free to testify about it?
You understand, the adults were separated from their children. So you had the girls in one house, the boys in one house, the women in one place, the brothers in one place. Everybody was separated. So it wasn't no house with a family, and then you could recognize when your child is gone.
You mean to tell the world that none of these children had enough sense in their mind to go tell their parent that this isn't right? Something.
So I want to pause it right there, because something that stood out to me is when he, Brother Polight said, you mean to tell me none of these kids had enough sense to go tell them their parents? I don't know how many of you, or if any of you here tonight listening, have ever endured any type of, abuse, or you may, in more often than not, if you haven't, someone who has. Often you hear that person, that victim, that survivor say that they were afraid, or, this person was so powerful to where I didn't think that I could, stand up to them. So I chose, I didn't say anything. So that's why. But as we seeing this man, he's acting like, okay, well, why these kids didn't say nothing, like as a means to kind of discount, to me, okay, why do you, like, it's to shift the blame, right, Brittany? That was disturbing for me, but I wanted to, highlight that part so you guys, can marinate on that part right there. But I'm going to carry on with the video, guys. Let me see.
I've been touched sexually. I've been sexually abused. Not one child out of all these children. It could have stopped so long ago if just one child or just one adult. What caused all of this to come out? First, you hear nothing from nobody. Yeah. You hear nothing from nobody. Then you hear something from everybody, all at the same time.
They might not have been the medium to to talk to anybody about the situation.
Not even their parents.
I mean, that's why, of course, I could have I could have told my mother.
We chose not to.
It's not that I chose not to. To really explain it would really take a lot. But I mean, you're not really yourself when you're not, you know what I'm saying? You ain't got no esteem. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got no. You know what I'm saying? You can't even face, like, my mother had to, she found out from my sister and she came to me and asked me about it. And I still really couldn't even tell her. I had to say, well, I had sex with the girl and he was there. And that was my way of telling her that, yeah, it happened. You know what I'm saying? But that's what the initial conversation. And this is like 2 weeks before we left. It was something I was under. I didn't tell nobody. It was something that held me to not say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because I looked up to him as my dad. Because I looked up to him as the person that he was. I thought he was a God figure. I thought he, you know, and all those reasons, like, you know, I'm trying to like see what the why is this going on? What's the significance? I'm young. I don't even know what really.
So as you guys, excuse me, hear this brother Noel give his encounter, does it make sense to you why he didn't say anything? He said that, you know, it went on for a while. And as he described who this man was to him, that's why he didn't say anything. So how many times have we heard someone describe like their predator, like in this type of light? Like a lot of times, I believe the stats show, like more often than not, it's, you know, the abuse takes place from an entrusted person, someone close to the person or the child, such as like a family member, a member of the church. Like this isn't unheard of, but I wanted to just point that part out so that can be kind of accounted for, to go with, I guess, to support his response to, okay, no, we wasn't talking. And then Brother Polight, like, okay, well, why? Okay, well, there's your why, Brother Polight.
In the sex, and I don't.
Why do you think he's locked up for 135 years, underground 60 feet, in a super max penitentiary with no one with a case likened to his own, amongst cannibals? Not because what you think he should be locked up for, why you think he's locked up.
Well, I mean, to answer your question in the way that I think you're asking it, you know what I'm saying? Because one, you have a black leader that was getting black people together and was building a sovereign nation.
Tell me if this is something you believe. That's not what I want to hear. What do you personally believe, dealing with the facts of the matter? Not denying you of your experience, but based on what we all know, what is necessary to lock a person up when you accuse them of these type of things.
What I know from history is that whenever you have a black leader that's uplifting the people, that's doing something for the community, that's bringing people together, and that's building people and elevating people, then they get taken down. You know what I'm saying? And he wouldn't have been taken down, and he hasn't been taken down until they found something that to take him down with. If he threw everything away by molesting kids, did he really care about everybody else? This is what I have to live with. I have to live with how do I come across the people that's in the knowledge and even vibe with them and talk to them on a regular level, and people looking at me one way.
Nah, that's all good. You can always come to a class of ours.
That's cool, but you know what I'm saying. But it is. But see, the thing is that
it don't make you a bad person.
At the end of the day, people's always gonna have his word over anybody else's word because that's all they know.
No, at the end of the day, he's locked up, so obviously they took your word over everyone else's. It doesn't matter.
Okay, do you guys see the aggression? Brother Polight is in his feelings about the idea of this man, Dr. Z, being locked up. Now, we just heard this other brother talk about being a victim and, okay, yes, Dr. Z was doing whatever in the community, but listen, bro, like they all got thrown out the way when you were abusing the people in the community. You see what I'm saying? Like, we can't even focus on that. It's almost like that don't even matter because Dr. Z was actually tearing down the community while he was calling himself building the community. So he was physically building the community, but he was psychologically and emotionally tearing down the community. So when you have broken people in the community, how is the community supposed to grow? You see? How is it supposed to grow and flourish if you're psychologically, emotionally breaking down the people in the community? Make that make sense. So at the end of the day, what are you doing, sir? But this gentleman, Brother Polight, all he wants to focus on is, okay, Dr. Z put up some huts, help get some running water in the community, help plant some cabbage and some peas and grow some trees for some apples in the community. He don't even want to focus on the quality of the people in the community and how they are now psychologically and emotionally messed up at the hands of his quote unquote leader. This was once also the leader of this young man and his family. I'll continue to play this video.
Like I told you, if we say he's innocent, where he's still locked up in prison, y'all weren't accounting for everything.
Well, I can't go back. You know what I'm saying? I can only face what's in front of me. And everything that's in front of me, I see people that's being misled. I see people that's under the impression, and even though
misled by what? Because people are saying
Doc
is being railroaded. That people are saying none of this has to do with the case as far as the government is concerned. The government don't give a damn about the accusations.
Saying that
are you hearing what I'm saying?
You got people saying that kids haven't been molested. I can't see what you're seeing. I can't see the I know what happened to me. I know what he did. I know what kind of person he is. You know what I'm saying? So
what kind of person he is? That's the question I want to ask you. What kind of person is Dr.
I mean, you get what you see. You get what you see.
Tell me,
but
who is he to
what
you?
people didn't see is also.
I asked about other people. I want to know about you personally. I want to get into your mind. I want to know, what is he to you? Who is he to you?
Who he is to me right now? He's somebody that did a lot of things great, but had his flaws, and it didn't correct those flaws. And he had years and years and years to correct those flaws. He didn't correct those flaws. Now I came back, and now he's incarcerated. Should he be in there? Should he be out? Someone like him shouldn't be incarcerated if they uplifted the community and doing what he did. But if you're gonna do that, and on top of that, still do the wrong thing for years and years and years, then you definitely shouldn't be out on the streets. That's if I was the devil, the perfect devil is the one who's gonna be a pastor, a preacher, or the one doing the right thing, and actually the one doing the wrong thing and send you to hell. That's the perfect devil right there. The perfect. If I was a devil right now, I'll be telling you to do the right thing. I'll be telling you to live your life this way, and I'll be sending you right to hell. The devil knows the gospel as well as any pastor or preacher. So if the devil is going to do his job, what better way to do it than to have everybody lifting themselves or doing the right thing? And in actuality, it's like they're going up, but they're going this way. It's not just up. It's like they're going up and they're going astray. You know what I'm saying? That's the only really way that the devil could do his job is to.
So are you guys following what this brother is saying? As I said, like the devil, like they can be a front, they can be a whole fraud. You know, when I say the devil, is like somebody taking on that perception of a devil where you're doing bad things, but at the same time, you're fronting through good deeds. But the devil is still the devil. And the way I'm interpreting what this brother is saying is like, okay, on the surface, Dr. Z looked like he was just like everything, but I knew different. And because I knew different, yes, he is where he needs to be. So regardless, Brother Polight, which you know him to be, which is surface, I knew who he was starting from the age of 7. I knew the real Dr. Z. And from what I'm picking up, Brother Polight, he don't want to know that version. He want to turn the blind eye to that version. How many times have we heard people talk about experiencing abuse, and they did eventually get the courage to share it with someone? A lot of times, the mother, grandparents, whoever, and that person chose to still turn and look the other way because they didn't want to deal with it. That's not who that's not who they felt like they knew. So it's like, okay, well, that's not who's presented to me. So when you're coming to me saying this is who's been presented to you, I'm not trying to go with that. Let's talk about something else. Like, that's a real thing, especially in the Black culture. We hear it collectively time and time and time again. And that goes into that generational trauma where people don't want to stop and deal with stuff. People want to brush it under the rug or say, well, let's not talk about that. Or let's just turn to Jesus. Let's this still a good man. You trying to mess up a name of a good man, you know, all that. You see what's playing out in this video. But I'm going to go ahead and carry on and let the rest of this video, because we're just about towards the end, play out. But just you guys just think about just the levels of dysfunction that we're witnessing coming from Brother Polight onto this young man as he tells his story. And mind you, at this point, Dr. Z has already been convicted and is now serving his 135-year sentence.
See people into thinking that he's actually God, to deceive people into thinking that he's actually Christ. That's why they say you will have false prophets and false messiahs. I would respect a wolf. If I was a sheep, I would respect a wolf that approached me and tried to hunt me down than a wolf that came in sheep clothing.
My whole argument in this whole situation is, should people be locked up based on what people believe? I got the right to be angry. You know why? Because the Lord promises me something different. The Lord promises me that we will lock people up beyond a shadow of a doubt. That's what the Lord promises me.
Yeah. But in this case, it was up to 12 people to have that reasonable doubt or not. And those 12 people make the decision.
It's not. So what's the point?
If you want to fight for
it's your matter of opinion.
Fight for it for another reason. Don't fight for it because he's innocent of a molesting kid.
Let's say he molested 1,000 children. Factually.
Okay.
Genetic evidence and everything. Things that we don't deny scientifically. We say, wow, okay, true. If someone was to ask me, would you still worship him as your Most High, acknowledge him as your Most High God? I would have to. I don't identify with everything he does there, much like I believe most Christians don't identify with everything their God does, because it says their God is a jealous God. And some Christians would tell you it's not right to be jealous. And some would tell you that, they shouldn't be vengeful, but in the Bible tells you Most High is a vengeful God. And it tells you shouldn't hate, but it tells you that God loved Jacob and he hated Esau. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's the difference between being a proud Nubian and saying that he's innocent. Okay, that's two different people. I could be a proud Nubian because I was born in Nuwapu, but it's two different kinds of people.
Are you got people? Nubian, if that's the case,
I can be. But how can I be a proud Nubian if the Nubians are saying that he's innocent and I'm saying that this happened to me?
Yeah,
so now it is. You see how we sitting down talking. That's. But see, the thing is that, now is my word against the master teacher's word, and whose word is they gonna take?
I know one thing the master teacher always taught is that when you're looking at the sides of the truth, there's his side, her side, his or her side versus his or her side. But really, in actuality, it's just the truth. Your side, their side, and just the truth. There's only one truth.
Okay, so yeah, that was a lot, but as we seen, Brother Polight said, well, okay, he got convicted. Y'all said he did what he did with these kids, but I still choose to view him as my God, my Lord. Like, what's your thoughts on that? Like, after hearing this whole encounter, and Brother Polight hearing what this young man had to say, his response was basically, I'm still following this man because his walk, his vision, all of that supersedes everything, bruh, that you just said. Brittany, David, this is that bullish. Oh, he was about to do something, so the white man took him down. No, he was a perv hiding behind his prestige in the community. That part, like, it's same in line. If you guys, any of you follow the YouTuber Hassan Campbell, when he talked about, you know, being abused by someone who was kind of a esteemed person in the community who had children, you know, looking up to him. And basically he talks about being a victim of that very thing, you know, but that man hasn't been, you know, convicted of anything. Can't remember what that, right now, what that man's name was, who Hassan Campbell was accusing of sexually assaulting him as a minor. But this brother Noel, I've heard another interview with him on another channel, and yeah, shout out to that YouTuber who had this video, Visible Thought. I'll post his information too at the end of this video. Want to make sure he get, you know, the credit that's due to him for having that interview on his platform, because that's where I, you know, I went to view it. But the brother said he started being molested. So like I said, I listened to another interview first before that one, but I just chose to share this one with you guys because Brother Polight was in it. And I wanted you guys to see the energy that was coming from Brother Polight. But with the survivor, TAARIQ Noel, in the first video that of an interview that I saw him with, and he said that the abuse started at age 7 and it ended at age 14. And he said the very first encounter took place when, I guess it was on a day it was his 7th birthday. I guess earlier that day they had a little celebration for him. That night, this young girl that was like a teenager came and got him and brought him to Dr. Z's trailer. He said it was one of those trailers like you see on the Hollywood sets where the actors kind of, you know, like their dressing room trailer. And he said when he went in there, it was just very dark in there. There was a TV on and it was cartoon porn on. He remembered that. Remember, mind you, he was 7. He just turned 7. It was his birthday that day. And he said on the TV, you know, it was a cartoon and it was like a woman in there and she was exposed. Her top was exposed. The men at the bar were getting all excited. So he said it was cartoon porn. And then the woman, which was a teenager, he said, brought him to the trailer, started undressing him or pulling down his pants. And then Brother or Dr. Z appeared, and then Dr. Z started, you know, messing with him, and the girl did too. They both kind of assaulted him that day. So he talked about that in that interview. And he just said that, this went on till he was 14. Sometimes it can be 5 times a year. Sometimes he said be once every 2 weeks. Like it was just different. It was like no schedule. It just would happen. But as we learned, as we saw, it was like and what I've shown you with my research, it was like this whole cult thing where he had all these followers. This gentleman also said, I guess his mother had 5 kids. So he and his 2 older sisters were all violated by Dr. Z. His mother had her last 2 children were actually by Dr. Z. So as he said, the truth came out when one of the sisters actually ended up telling the mom. And he still didn't feel comfortable kind of talking about it in this interview. And even the other interview I told you guys that I watched, he doesn't feel. It's almost like he knows, he feels like as a service to the community, he needs to talk about it. But we see visually as a man, he's not comfortable talking about it, which is very understandable. Let me finish going through the comments. Brittany, the poor guy's being gaslighted big time. Yes, it's like, so fast forward, here we are with Brother Polight being in the hot seat pertaining to charges with children. So when we take into an account like that video that we watched, his response to that gentleman sharing or talking about his encounter with a predator, there was no sympathy there. So now fast forward to Brother Polight now having a similar charge on him with violating a 14-year-old. Like, do we expect for Brother Polight to just take responsibility to own up to anything, when from history what we see, he don't take sexual assault charges against children serious? Like, what other way can we look at it? So it's like, to me, when I watch that video, it doesn't help, his image. And I don't know, prior to people looking at it today on my live, if they've seen that video or if they were aware or knew anything or the history of Dr. Z. To me, when you put all the pieces together, it's not a good look. It's not a good look. So African Bambaataa, now that name's coming to me. I think that was the gentleman, that was the man who Hassan Campbell said violated him as a teenage boy for some years. So I believe the name was African Bambaataa, but you guys can kind of look into that again. His name is Hassan Campbell. He has a pretty large following on YouTube, and he often talks about his story, or he has on multiple occasions. He get, a lot of trolls and people come at him, in regards to, the abuse, and claiming that he had a whole relationship with the man because it went on for years and even beyond his teenage years. But listen, all I know is the way he presented it to everyone was that he was a child and he was abused by this grown man, period. So that's that. But you guys can go research that one as well. Again, his name is Hassan, Hassan Campbell. I think it's Campbell. So it's very, it's all very interesting, disheartening. It's just a lot of feelings that you can attach to it all. I'm going to show you also this article from the onefortlauderdale.com that kind of outlines, the details that's being released pertaining to the case against Brother Polight. So let me try to find that website that one's on. This might be it right here. Okay. So let me move this comment off the screen. Okay. So let's get into it. Okay. So Miami Beach Police, excuse me. So Michael Noack Jr., also known as Brother Polight, surrendered to police Monday for the alleged sexual battery of a 14-year-old girl in a hotel room in February. The alleged victim is the daughter of a woman Noack 37, was romantically linked to, according to the police. Defense attorney David Terrace says his client is innocent. Once the evidence is produced, he is going to be exonerated, Terrace says. So yeah, not guilty, nothing else. According to the police report, Noack, who is a motivational speaker and author and lives in Los Angeles, asked the woman if he could take her daughter to an after party at a club in Miami. The report states Noack took the teen to his hotel after seeing that the club was closed. Police say the suspect gave the teen alcohol and started dancing and touching the teen inappropriately, groping her breasts, inner thighs, and buttocks. It goes on to say Noack tried to force the teen to perform oral sex on him. The teen allegedly passed out and woke up to Noack trying to make her throw up. These are serious allegations, but in any situation, there is always motive. Terrace said. There is always a lot behind the scenes that the public is not going to be able to see. The report states that the girl's mother found her intoxicated and possible on drugs with severe swelling on her mouth and lips. It later states NOEL told the mother not to call police because it would ruin his career. NOEL was served with a DNA warrant in June and surrendered to the police on Monday. Terrace says the police report is only an allegation. We have no doubt that he is not this person, the attorney says. We're going to get him past this and back on with his life. So let's focus on this part, fam. NOEL was served with a DNA warrant in June and surrendered to police on Monday. So that was June, July, August, 2 months later. So I take it when a DNA warrant was, when he was served with a DNA warrant, that meant that he needed to come in and produce it, bring in his DNA. Okay. Fast forward to Monday. We're surrendering and going into the police station following the presentation of your DNA. So like I said, I've been researching this. I've also, I don't know if I heard if it was on another content creator's video, but apparently his DNA. Okay, so apparently also other parts that allegedly what happened on that day was, you know, he went to try to go to this strip club that called 11. I think it was called 11. It was closed. They made their way to the hotel. Supposedly he was with this young girl because he wanted to talk to her about problems he had been having with her mama, which was his woman. I don't understand. Okay, why you talking to the baby about y'all problems? But anyway, they made their way to the hotel. Things took place based off of what we were, you know, what was said in this report. So then the other piece that I'm not seeing in here that I have learned, or, you know, during my research that's alleged, is that after, I guess she woke up, he took her to her mother, who was at another hotel. And the mother was able to see that something went right with the daughter, you know, based on how she was presenting, which is outlined in this article. And when they took her, the mom took her to the hospital, they found his DNA on her shirt and her skirt. So that piece, I didn't see that outlined in this article. But that was another small bit of detail that I did hear pertaining to the whole part with the DNA. So it's not looking good for Brother Polight. You know, as often, you know, the attorney is sounding confident that he's going to clear his client. But I mean, that's, I guess, would we expect him to not sound confident? But it's all very disturbing. It's just all very disturbing. I have not learned who this woman is as far as the mother of this child. I don't know if any of you all had followed him in the past to know around that time, who was he linked up with? Who was he dating? Like I said, I did check out his Instagram page tonight for the very first time. There's some fair-skinned, you know, woman right now on there. I don't know if that's supposed to be his woman who he's with now, but I would presume this is someone who's kind of new in his life, you know, because I guess it wouldn't make sense that she would be the woman whose child was violated. So you guys can kind of check out his Instagram page, see what you can find. The most recent video I saw today, I think it was like some music video clip posted. And I went to the comments to see if anybody was saying anything. And people was just commenting like about the music, like, they just have this dismissive attitude about whatever, these allegations that are out there about him, which is quite disturbing. I didn't see not one, but I didn't go, it was like over 1,000 comments on that video, but I went through maybe like the first maybe 10, and it was all comments pertaining to music, like nothing like, how sometimes when there's something out there about a person that's negative, you might see somebody in the comments kind of making a comment about it, even though that post wasn't about that, but they'll still make their comment about that. I did not see that when I went to his Instagram, but I only looked at the comments for the most recent posting, which would to me make sense that would be where I would probably see if there were going to be people on there not rocking with him, where I would see it, but I didn't see anything there. So like I said, you guys can kind of do your own research on this matter. Also, for anybody's here, thank you for being here and listening. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so when I go live. It's always something going on in these streets, in particular YouTube streets. I seem to get more response on these videos pertaining to these YouTubers and the mess that they find themselves into, more so than your Hollywood celebrities. I find that to be interesting, but it is what it is. It's like, these people, these YouTubers, they kind of got the new celebrity right now. They're the ones that people are really most in tune with and are checking for. And Brother Polight, he's in the hot seat right now. A lot of people are talking about him. I do understand as far as him not coming out and just going hard in his defense. Like, so from a legal standpoint, I get that part. Like, that makes sense. You hear it time and time again. Attorneys like, yo, don't say nothing. Guilty or innocent. Like we've seen enough movie. We see this play out. So we know how it goes. You don't say nothing. So I'm not looking at him side eye from the standpoint of what he's not saying. I'm just looking at just the evidence and then for him to have been charged, there was something there to charge him with. So you're not just getting charged and there's no evidence. There was a whole charge. And I showed you guys earlier on the charge that's out there on the MIAMI-DADE on their website. Like, you can go out there. It's a real charge. You can do, the playback on this video, but it's out there. I'm looking forward to seeing how this all unfold, because I even heard, which was very disturbing, when I was listening to Sinetta's channel and his live, there was a woman who called in and she started talking about the Jezebel syndrome. And she said that a lot of young girls have the Jezebel syndrome. So they were like, okay, what is that? And she was saying, well, that's when, you got these young girls that will arouse these men, know that they doing wrong, whatever. And the men, his body part, he's going to get aroused. He can't control that. So maybe she was pushing up on him. Like, listen, people in the comments were like, what? Get this lady off the phone. Like, nobody was like following what she was talking about. Like, she was just trying to say that the young girl could have, she was like, I'm not saying that's what happened, but I just want to just put this out there as a viable reasoning as to how maybe Brother Polight's DNA could have got on a young woman. She could have been demonstrating Jezebel behaviors, got this man aroused, and that's how his DNA got on her. And now, the story has been flipped as though he was the predator, but the girl, she called the girl, she was the predator. It was crazy, y'all. I had never heard anybody say that before, but they was going in on them comments. They was like, yo, this lady is insane. Get her off right now. She is talking reckless. But basically, she was putting the blame on the girl. So as I have in my title of my video, Black women and children at risk. Like, do you guys feel like this, when it comes to Black women and Black children, do things that happen to Black women and children, do you think it's taken as serious as it is when it happens to women and children of other cultural groups? Because this was a woman who called in there painting this, like not even a man, even the men in the comments was like, what? Men was even saying, a couple of men I seen said they would never get caught in a room by themselves with a 14-year-old. That part. They were like, I ain't even trying to be by myself with a 14-year-old. Stop the madness. Yes, Brittany, the guy was being gaslighted big time. Stop the madness. But it's like it was a woman, a grown, mature woman at that, like painting this narrative of how it could have been the fault of the young girl and her setting up Brother Polight. It was crazy. But it just lets you know just the culture, our culture, how just the layers of dysfunction that exist in our culture that we can even go there, in particular, a woman. I'm curious to know if this woman even had children, because the way as reckless as she was speaking, I don't even see how a parent mind can even go there, even a father, anybody. So it's like, to me, from what it's like with Black women, children, when things happen, or particular, Black women, girl, it's like it just get downplayed when trauma impacts our communities. Whereas when it impacts other communities, it's like a whole news, like it made Fox, CNN. Think about when kidnappings takes place. Like, how many girls go missing in our community that we don't hear about, but soon as somebody in the other communities, we got these Amber Alerts sounding off, we hearing about it, it's on Good Morning America. Like, you don't see that same type of energy. I don't, at least when it comes to our children. I don't see it. It's like, oh, okay. Like, I've been saying it, and I'll keep saying it until I feel differently. And I feel like the Black culture, the people in the Black community, we're at the bottom. And then within the Black community, females are just below the males. Like, we're at the bottom of just everything outside of the culture and within the culture. And I can only hope and pray that the truth comes out, justice takes place. If Brother Polight, if he is innocent, then all the evidence is presented and he's innocent. And the naysayer, those who went against him, can be like, okay, we with you. We stand with you. We apologize, whatever. But then if he's not innocent, then I really hope and pray that those who have been rocking with him will not be in denial about that, and will be man enough, woman enough to say, wow, this is unfortunate, versus still continuing to make excuses for the behavior. Because as we've seen in that video I played, Dr. Z was convicted and Brother Polight was still like, okay, well, yeah, he was convicted of that, but let's talk about what he did for the community. And that's, I'm still holding that as weight. He's still my God, my savior. Like, what? So what I don't want to see is, when it comes to Brother Polight, people in the community taking on that same energy as he did with Dr. Z. I mean, that's a whole problem if that takes place. Because that's dismissive behavior. That's you saying, okay, well, that young girl, she don't matter. I would like to know, how was it that he was by himself with this 14-year-old? Where was her mother? He took her back to the hotel where the mother was. So I think I've been researching so much to where I think it had been said that, like, the mother knew that the daughter was with him, or he had asked permission to take the daughter out. That's the part that's shaking me. Like, okay, what? On what day of the week, of the year, of the century, in a lifetime, is it ever okay for your young daughter to just be out with a man overnight, let alone like your man, like it doesn't make sense. Just from a common sense standpoint, a parental standpoint, like, so I can understand just from even that angle why some people might be like, okay, because it doesn't even make sense, I'm getting whole setup buys. But at the same time, you brother, how do you even have your, so let's just say mama was on some extra stuff to try to set you up or whatever. Let's just go with that. Brother Polight, like what kind of man are you to even allow yourself to be in a situation for such a setup? As I said in Sinetta's video, people and men in the comments were like, yo, I wouldn't get caught being alone by myself with a 14-year-old. Like, ain't your own child. Like, that's just bad on many levels. Who's trying to get caught up in that type of look? It's not a good look. So you're not even trying to have yourself there, because it's just like, and y'all know these young girls these days with the way these bodies be looking. I don't know if it's in the food, whatever, but just when you see how these babies are looking these days, that ought to have men like on guard to be like, nah, I can't even try to even let myself even just be in a room with them. Like I gotta be protected. I gotta protect myself. And so it goes both ways, where you can look at it from the mom standpoint, like, well, damn, what kind of woman are you to allow your daughter to be over here with this man, your man? And then, brother, what kind of man are you to have this young girl over here with you like that? Like, that's why it's like we need to hear everything. And I don't know. I haven't heard anything as far as any court dates, any scheduled court dates. From my understanding, he's out on bond. But, you know, he's posted on his socials like everything all good in the hood. And it's like, if this all come out to be true, it's just like, wow. Like, wow. So it's just very deep. Like I said, it took a lot out of me when I was preparing for this video. It's like, wow. It's like, I knew I wanted to come out here and I had to do it, but it wasn't like I felt like I normally feel as I'm entering and preparing for a live. Like this one kind of was more, it was more emotional and psychological, just because of just the different rabbit holes that it was taking me down, that was showing abuse, and just how the connections that abusers or alleged abusers have to other abusers or alleged abusers. It's just like the link, like in which we see oftentimes, where even with R. Kelly's story, I've heard a brother of his talk about R. Kelly. He was abused. He was abused as a child. I can't remember if R. Kelly has himself come out and told his story, but I have heard a story pertaining to R. Kelly and his childhood and being abused as a little boy, like preteen with it starting. So here it is, R. Kelly, like he's locked up right now on child abuse charges. So you see what as I say, like abusers more often than not are victims of abuse. We see often abusers abuse other people, as they say, hurt people hurt other people. So during my research with Brother Polight, I was able to link him closely to someone who's now serving a 135-year sentence on a child abuse charge, multiple charges. I believe it was like 12 people, according to that TAARIQ NOEL gentleman. I think it was about, he said it was maybe 12 people who testified, but it was more people who claimed to have been victims, but those were the ones who had the strength to kind of stand up and talk about it. So it's a lot to unpack. It's a lot to take in. I believe, I shared with you all the things that I kind of researched in preparation of tonight's live. And I'm going to continue to watch this case. I have to, because I mean, we agree we got to protect our babies, and our babies are not being protected, and they're not being protected in many situations by the moms, and they're not being protected in many situations by the fathers. I once heard a stat that I think it was years ago, Dr. Phil talked about, that most child abuse cases takes place at the hand of a step parent. So when when children are not in the home with both their biological mother and father, their chances of becoming victims of child abuse increases. So I'll say that again: when children are not in the homes with both their mother and their father, their biological mother and their father, the chance of them experiencing child abuse in their life, it increases. It increases because more often than not, that abuse is at the hand of that step parent, that boyfriend, that girlfriend, that husband, that new husband mom married, that new wife dad married. That's a real thing. So when we talk about just our family dynamics, the culture, our broken homes, the abuse numbers, all of that kind of go hand in hand, because when you got these broken homes, we leave the kids open to more harm to happen to them, more harm than harm happens with people of other cultural groups. And I'm sure there's stats and all that out there for that. I don't really want to kind of get into all that. I want to kind of just stay focused on this story, but research it. The data is out there. If you find anything that goes against anything I'm saying, certainly drop it in the comments. I read the comments. I come here to have this forum as a place to talk about things that may or may not be talked about as much as we may like for them to be talked about. And it's layers to this situation pertaining to the breakdown in the Black cultural group, the breakdown in the Black family. And this type of information contributes to my drive to keep my family together, because the statistics shows that my children have a better chance of having productive lives when they're being raised in the same household with both their mother and father, when their mother and father are married, when there's a healthy dynamic between the mother and the father. Like, these are the things that I take into an account as I work daily in my marriage. I've been married come October 1st, 17 years. So it becomes bigger than you when you have families and there's children involved. It's no longer just about you and your man or you and your woman. It's about the babies. It's about what's most important to them. So when we feeling like, oh, I don't know if I like him like that anymore. I don't know if I like her like that anymore. We got to take it deeper and to think, okay, if we were to break up and go our separate ways and then our children have to be split between two different households, what kind of impact is that going to have on the kids? Like, we got to go there. And I don't feel like we do that enough, because I feel like if we did that enough, we wouldn't see as many broken homes. I think that we as adults can be very selfish, where we're stuck in our feelings, where we're thinking about, like women, naturally, we're emotional people. Like, I know that feeling where we're thinking about, I ain't feeling this no more. You know, I ain't really happy. I need some excitement. I think I want to try something new. Like that's a me, I thing. I ain't even mentioned nothing about the kids and how, you know, what it's going to do to them. I'm strictly right now just talking about me. But, you know, I had to switch gears. I had to switch thinking. And when I did that and and put my children first and started moving like that, it made me say, you know what? My children are better off with this type of scenario. So let me try to fight more for this. Let me really appreciate what I got going on here, because I know my babies are benefiting. They benefit more by me working with my husband to keep this going. Because when I turn to my left and turn to my right, guys, I don't see anybody with a family dynamic in the Black community that looks like mine. I'm just going to keep it real. When I think about my kids' friends, like the Black friends, at least their households, you know, my son's teenage male friends, there's no fathers in the house. It's a single parent household. So my son run around, only one, you know, out of the three, you know, they real tight. Like he the only one that got the nuclear family dynamic going on. So what is he potentially getting that the other two young men aren't getting? That's a real thing. The stats show that. I can say the stats are in line just from just my own personal life. When I think about the number of Black women I know who are married, who have multiple children by multiple men, like that ain't lies. It is what it is. It's just a sad truth. And any of you who are listening, who come across this video at any time this live, you just think about that. Think about your life. Think about the people around you life, the other family members' lives. Do any of their lives play out to those negative stats that are out there? Like it ain't about judgment. It's about the truth. And we got to acknowledge the truth before we can even get to a point to try to even fix it. And I don't even think we really there really with the acknowledgement part, because people want to get in their feelings and say, well, I don't want to pay attention to the data, the numbers. How can you not, sis? How can you not, bro? Like that ain't me speaking right now, ain't formed on no opinion. It's formed on the data. The numbers don't lie. And that's why I like data and numbers, because it's subjective. Like it's not like an opinion type situation. It is what it is. And people collectively in our cultural group, we don't want to deal with that, because it's just like, well, I don't like that number. Or maybe everybody don't want to be married. Or I heard someone say, well, not all women, you know, some women ain't meant to be married or meant to have a man. What scripture is that in? Like, I hadn't even heard of that. So I'm like, wow. But I looked at that as just a deflection of you not wanting to really deal with why your situation is what it is. So if you say, well, maybe, maybe I'm one of those women that ain't, that wasn't meant to be here to have a man. Like, but since you over here struggling in your situation by yourself, you don't think if you had a man around that you wouldn't be worrying the way you do? Now, yes, I know you got trash men out there, just like you got trash women, but that's not everybody. Get back in the game. Work on you first, because maybe when you can present a better version of you, you'll get a better quality of people that are gravitating towards you. How about that? Is that a thought? But again, nobody don't want to put the work in. Nobody don't want to put the work in. And okay, we can choose not to put the work in all we want, but these type of stories are going to surface, and I'm going to have these lives talking about the foolery going on in our community. It's not a good look. Not at all. We have to get it together collectively as a community. We can't continue to ignore what's going on out here in these streets in the Black community. Like, period. Like, we can't do that. And I understand as far as those who are saying, hey, I'm gonna hold my reservation on like going hard or saying something, like, I get that. But when that evidence comes out, we can't continue to sit and have our mouths closed. We got to speak out and be like, yo, this is not cool. This evidence is here. We can't support this. We're denouncing this. Like, you got to have that energy. You got to have that same energy. And I don't really even feel like it was hard energy like that anymore. R. Kelly, he locked up. I don't feel like it was like people really went strong, like, oh yeah, he's for the streets, we canceling him. I don't really feel like that. You know, you heard some people here and there, you know, forming their opinion, saying, okay, I'm not going to listen to his music, but I don't think it was very loud. That's just my opinion. So I can only hope that when it's time for Brother Polight to have his day in courts, during when it's time to reveal your evidence and all this, that third, that people aren't in denial about what's being presented. People aren't trying to make up excuses about what was presented. Well, what about, you know, what about the mom? You know, okay, well, he was there, but, you know, she need to be like, I think, you know, even if the evidence shows that the mom was like, okay, had some suspect behavior and did, like, yes, I agree. Like, the mama need to be dealt with too. Like, everybody, all adults need to be dealt with. I agree. But I think that needs to be acknowledged and said on these large platforms, because if we can just be loud with showing our support, commenting on music videos and all that kind of stuff, I feel like we can do that when somebody does wrong. I feel like we can still have that same energy when somebody does wrong. And to date, I don't feel like that's what takes place within our community. So it just leaves that question of, okay, are women, Black women, children, are we valued? Are young Black girls valued? If not, why? Let's talk about it. So yes, it was a lot I had to bring to you guys tonight. I urge you all to definitely research this, do your own research, look into it, watch the story. Anything you want me to address, whether it's pertaining, you know, with this or other topics, drop it in the comments. I'll research it. If I feel like it's something that, you know, the people would like to hear, I'll certainly, you know, come on and talk about it. But we got to do better. We have to do better. I ask that we do better. I beg that we do better for our children, for the little people. Because it's just too much going on in the streets at the hands of adults onto our children. Like, it's like I feel like we've become a desensitized society when it comes to violence against our children, violence against just the people within our culture, violence against our women. Like, it's just like we hear about it so much to where it's just like, oh, okay, this is just another story. And that's sad. It's scary that people just move on to the next story. But, you know, many people are talking about Brother Polight. Some even have argued that they think that content creators are, you know, just only talking about him and not talking at all about the alleged victim, the 14-year-old girl. And I want to come on here to talk about both, you know, talk about his discretions and then talk about the impact that it may have or it could have on her. Like, you know, when you deal with trauma, abuse. Many times in our community, you know, we all know how Black folks collectively feel about counseling. You know, it's a new thing where some starting to go and sit on the couch, but not in as far as numbers, you know, that we should see it in, because historically, that's just not what we did. It's just like we didn't, you know, you taught, you know, you keep the business in the house. You don't go talking about stuff. You brush it under the rug, and it just carries on to the next generation. And the dysfunction, the trauma, it just plays out in other parts of our lives. That's what I say. It's like people think they dealt with things, but did you really? Did you really? Maybe, you know, that abuse is playing out in the quality of your relationships today, where you can't connect with people in a healthy way, or you're demonstrating Jezebel or promiscuous behaviors, or being, you know, you're being abusive to women or men or boys or whatever. But trauma can play out in other areas of your life, especially when it's not dealt with. And I don't feel like we deal with it. And how we say we're dealing with it is by just not talking about it or trying not to think about it, but it's always there. And with this young girl, I can only hope that she received counsel, because I know people who've talked about experiencing sexual abuse for many, many years in their life or in childhood and never received a day in counseling, when, you know, and they just been going on through life, or they receive very little counseling, but they just tell themselves and try to convince people that they're good. And it's like, sis, no, you ain't. I mean, I don't know if I'm the first to tell you, but you are far from it. And the same with you, bro. You're not good. Look at these toxic behaviors you're demonstrating. So it goes back to, who are these people in our circles? Are these people just telling us what we want to hear? Because like I said, that trauma, it plays out in the person's life. But the people in the circle, everybody don't have the courage to tell that person, listen, like, you got issues, and what may have happened to you like 10, 20 years ago, that could be contributing to what's going on now, what's going on here. Even if the other person on the other end don't want to hear it, but to say it, that part, and not enough people are saying it. So we continue to have this generation over generation over generation dysfunction. And it leads us to today, August 19, 2021. And the saga continues. So, fam, everybody, please just take care of each other. Each one teach one. Please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification button, the notification bell. I'm sorry. Like the video. If you don't like what I have to say, you can even thumbs down the video. You know, I just want to, you know, all of this helps the algorithm with getting it out there for people to see or hear, maybe even a different side of the situation. You know, it's always good to just hear the thoughts of somebody else, and it may be different from yours, and that's okay. That's when it's time for us to start conversing and talking. That's why I like to kind of listen to different platforms and hear what people got to say. And then I come on here to try to merge the two and let you guys know what the people are saying, and you find, you know, where you fit in. So it's not about judging. It's just about bringing the information here and getting the conversation popping. And just discussing solutions, trying to be solution oriented. But we have to start being real with one another. We got to get the help that we need. We got to be good examples, better examples for our youth. We got to be responsible adults to our children, to the young ones in the community, within your families, nieces and nephews, all of that. Like, we got to show them that we support them. We got to let them know that they can come and talk to us about anything, that they don't have to be fearful of retaliation, someone hurting them. Like, we got to let it be known that we're here, and no matter what type of trouble they may be in, they can come to us and talk to us. Because as we've seen in that interview, that young man, that's not the message that he got growing up. That's not a message that a lot of people got growing up. That's a problem, because far too many survivors talk about not ever growing up maybe in an environment where they were told that it was okay for them to talk about certain things or to come to their caretaker or a parent about something. And then what's even more unfortunate is when they do finally get the courage to do it, and then they're dismissed. They're told, oh, you're lying, I don't believe you. Or, okay, well, if that happened, fine, don't say nothing. Go lay down, we'll forget about it. Like stuff like that. That stuff, like y'all know I'm not making this stuff up. Like, this is real stuff. This is what happens. This is what happens. I don't know what goes out down in other cultural groups, but I know in mine, in the Black cultural group, this is what happens daily. And our hurt children grow up to be hurt adults, and unfortunately wind up becoming abusers themselves. And it just continues. And then the cycle just continue. And we're here today with it still continuing. We got to stop the madness. We have to. So like I said, I'm going to drop, all the receipts of things that I talked about. I'm going to update it in the description. So if you want to go back, look at things, like I say, do your own research. I'm coming here with, sharing my opinion, also presenting factual information. So, I kind of bring a combination of both. So it's a lot to take in, but thank you for choosing to be here with me tonight. For those of you who joined, these numbers kind of be out of whack, so I can never really fully see who came while I was live. But like, share, subscribe, thumbs up the video, hit the bell. Thank you again for my new subs. My channel is growing, so that's a good thing. And I love for you guys who haven't subbed yet to join with me, because I'm going to keep talking, because I see there is clearly a need. You see, like, if you guys peep my previous videos, I'm coming on here like daily. Sometimes I've come multiple times a day, because I feel compelled to come out here and talk to you all and bring these messages to you. And I feel like the delivery that I have, a lot of times it's not the delivery that you're getting it from, from other content creators. So I want to be something different, So I want to talk to you, and I want you guys to talk back to me. Drop a comment. And thank you again. And until the next broadcast tonight, good night, and peace.